All right, so here's the Konig Heliums ultralight. So with these wheels, I took off over 5 pounds on each corner, right? So 5 pounds lighter, so that's good. Uh, so let's look at how they look as far as, because these ones are 6.5. The stock wheels are 6 inches wide. And I can't remember what the offset was on the stock wheel. I think the offset was 45 or maybe 50 or something like that. It's like something like that. These wheels are 40. So it's not as much offset. So that means it sticks out a little bit more. And you actually tell on the front wheel here. Looking at the front wheel. When you look at the front wheel, if you look straight down, it's pretty much like flush. The tire is like flush with the fender right here. It's like perfectly flush almost. Let's look at this side. All right, it's like perfectly flush pretty much. So yeah, that's because of the offset. So it's just, so basically it's a little bit wider, but that's actually how my Kosei's before I had some Kosei's. When I first bought this car, I got some Kosei, and they were really light too. They were I think they were about the same weight as these wheels are, pretty close together. So I had the Kosei's, and whatever tires I had on there, when the tires wore out, I sort of gave this car to my niece, but she didn't really drive it because it's a stick shift, and she was too scared. Even though I taught her how to drive a stick shift, but she was still too scared about it. So her mom ended up, my sister-in-law ended up driving it most of the time. And anyway, so when I gave it to my niece, I put the steel wheels back on. And I sold the Kosei's, and now I got the car back, and I was using the steel wheels for a while, and it looks like it's gonna be, it looks like I'm gonna be keeping this car for, quite a bit longer. So I'm like, oh, might as well just put on some light wheels again, and put on some alloys again, so it looks better, right? Because the steel wheels looks like shit. Even though it was kind of cool that it looked like shit, because it makes the car look a little cheaper, so people would less likely to mess with it, especially nowadays. Right nowadays, all the smash and grab and all this crime spree. We're living in a real life GTA. So steel wheels would have been like a sort of a deterrent. But with these ones, they make the car look a little nicer, so it's less deterrent. Well, that's okay. I live in a pretty good neighborhood. I don't live in the ghetto anymore, like I did like 10 years ago when I lived in the ghetto. But yeah, so these tires, or these wheels I should say, look pretty good. These are stock tire size wheels. I mean, it's not wheels, I mean tires. So 185, 60, 15. And these rims are 15, just like the stock wheels, but the width on the stock wheels is 6 inches, and these ones are 6.5 inches. And these Heliums, Konig Heliums, these things were made in the 90s, I think like the mid 90s, somewhere in that time frame. And these were like kind of like the light wheels to have for like Miatas and Honda Civics and stuff. A lot of people had these this wheel here, and because it's cast, it's cheap. I got these wheels for I got them on sale actually at Goodwin Racing for $100 each, so it's pretty cheap. I think a few years ago they were even cheaper. I think a few years ago you could find some for like $80 each. So I was like, damn, that's like dirt cheap. I didn't realize these wheels were that cheap. If I had known they were that cheap, I probably would have gotten them in the beginning. Because my Kosei's, when I got the Kosei's, they were like, I think those were like $150 each, and that was back in 2015. That was like almost 10 years ago, right? 9 years ago. So back then these wheels were probably even cheaper than $100 back then. But anyways, yeah, so they look nice. So they're cool. One thing I liked about them over the Kosei side I had was the spokes are here. You look at the spokes, right? The spokes don't stick out past the spokes here. They don't stick out past the lip of the rim. On my Kosei's, the spoke here, it actually stuck out past the lip of the rim, so I didn't like that. I always worry about if I ever curb rash. Now, I'd much rather curb rash the the lip here. That's not. It doesn't look that bad, but you could brush the spoke. Man, that looks horrible. So that always kind of worried me a little bit. But I mean, I never curbed it, but still, shit happens, right? So yeah. What else can I say about these things? I won't know how they feel until I actually like take it up into the mountains and drive fast and see how responsive they are. But yeah, now I will also keep track of my gas mileage too. So with the steel wheels and these tires, I was keeping track of the gas mileage. When I put these tires on compared to the stock tires, because when I had the steel wheels, I still had the stock tires. Then when I put these tires on, man, my gas mileage went down. It was enough for me to notice it on the gas mileage. So hopefully with these lighter wheels that are 5 pounds lighter than the steel wheels, hopefully I would notice the gas mileage go down even more. Yeah, so with these tires on the stock steel wheels, I think my gas mileage dropped like 2 miles a gallon. I got 2 miles a gallon more. So I use less, less gas, so that's why that was enough to notice. But so hopefully with this, it might drop, another mile or 2 miles a gallon more. If it's a mile per gallon difference, that might not be noticeable because it's, that's kind of a margin of error. But 2 miles a gallon, that's should be noticeable. But anyways, yeah. So these are my new Konig Heliums. I'm glad that Konig still makes these because these are like probably the best deal around for light wheels. I mean, they're cast wheels, so they're not forged, so they're not as strong and not quite as light. Pretty damn close though, pretty damn close. And they're not what do you call them? Spin forge or flow form or whatever they call them. Where they spin the barrels out. Roll forge basically. It's roll forging. When you roll out a metal to roll it out and draw it out, you're work hardening it, which is basically, for the most part, it's like that's kind of similar to forging. Putting pressure, right? Pressure and heat on the metal. That's what forging is. So anyways, yeah, this is it. Thanks for watching.